welcome to a brand new episode of Rewriting Life's Canvas with me, your host, Esther. Do you know what? First things first, I have to say a massive thank you. I just feel over the moon. I'm overjoyed. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for all the love, all the support, all the lovely, encouraging words that I received from the very first episode, even just from announcing the podcast, which still seems a bit unreal for me. This is what I think. I think by the 10th episode, it will be sealed. I set myself very weird and, now I wouldn't say unrealistic because it is achievable. I set myself very weird goals. So I think by the 10th episode, it really will sink in. And because it's every 2 weeks as well, I think it's nice. For the first year, every 2 weeks is not bad. It's not bad at all. I am planning to go to Lagos soon as well. I'm going to be there for a few weeks. So I will be consistent. Just because I think doing a podcast by myself. So in the past when I've done, actually no, the TDA was a morning show. No Shade was a podcast. So sometimes we've had to pre-record episodes. And that isn't too bad when it's two people kind of bouncing off each other. But I think because of what this podcast is about, and the fact that it is just me, I'm to take the password off this thing when I'm doing it. But my fear is I'm going to lose it and then someone just has access to my files. But anyway, so because it's just me, I do think it's a bit harder, it's a bit trickier to pre-record. So I am planning to record and I want to tell you about Lagos while I'm in Lagos and my experiences in Lagos while I'm in Lagos. Honestly, I love being in Lagos so much. I've been going so much in the past 2 years, but I will share more about that when I'm there. I love saying on ground. I think it's so fun. To be fair, first time I ever really heard that was during, it's quite sad actually, sorry. But during NSARS, they'd be like, oh, we're the ones on ground. But I like the saying, I like the on ground saying. But anyway, hope all of you are well. Hope you've had a lovely past 2 weeks since the last time we spoke. Yeah, let's do it that way. Since the last time we spoke, since you've tuned into this podcast. First things first. Oh, while I'm here, please kindly like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with people, follow the podcast page on Instagram and on TikTok, Rewriting Life's Canvas. I set up an email. So I've got an email address. I've got a domain for the podcast. It's rewritinglifescanvas.com. However, I am having issues. I'm having issues linking the email. And one thing about me, I'm a lot of things, but there's one thing I will always own up to, which is I hate when technology is not working with me. I hate slow technology. I can't deal with technology that's buffering. Like if I'm watching a video, if I'm watching something and it's buffering, I'm turning it off. I can't. Of all the things in life that really test my patience, yeah, that's one of the things. Yes. So to be fair, I tried to do this 2 weeks ago before the podcast, the first episode came out. It wasn't working. And I just felt I was going to throw my MacBook across the room. So God is working on me with the patience. But so I decided not to. And then I've just been so busy the past week that I just didn't. But I'm going to. By the time this episode drops, it's 3 days. By the time this episode drops, there will be an email address. So if you would love to write into me, please do. You'd love to share life experience, please do. Your story, please do. Something that you want to hear what my opinion might be on it, please do. Greatly appreciated. If you want to be a guest, same email, please do. But yeah, so I want first thing first. Okay, second thing, because the first thing first was all the gratitude. But second thing, I don't think as a society we talk about white van male drivers enough. I don't know if I've ever seen a woman driving a white van. Okay, my mum one time, because there was an enterprise van, that doesn't count. But I mean like a proper lad, they're probably doing some kind of manual labour, plumbing, that kind of stuff, type of van. I don't think I've ever seen a woman. And if there aren't any women in those fields, big up you sisters, because nothing I love more in this life than women in male-dominated spaces. And sometimes that might even be for very silly, toxic behaviour. I just love it. But anyway, so I don't think we talk about men in white vans enough. So earlier this week, what was it? Yeah, I was just thinking about the podcast and always being consistent and just 10 episode thing that I told you guys about. And then I thought, yeah, but what if something happens to me? Because it's just me on the podcast, God forbid I'm ill or something, what would happen? But I was like, yeah, but if I'm able to, of course I'd record. I want to be consistent. But I was thinking about that because there was a man in a white van driving behind me that was very intimidating. And then I was on my way to the gym, and I just thought, what if this man follows me all the way to the gym and he punches me in the face? And then I've got a black eye. And I thought, this is how my mind works. Then I thought, would I come to record with a black eye? I said, yes, I would. It'd make for a great story. I would, actually. Anyway, this clown, this is why I don't think we talk about white van drivers, because I think there are a lot of them. Obviously not all, because I haven't met all white van drivers, but I would say I've met 48 of them honestly should have their licenses revoked. I feel like white van drivers should have an extra step to take before they get on the roads, before they're allowed to not only just get on the roads, but stay on the roads. I kind of think the same about old people sometimes, like very, very, very old people. I think there just needs to be certain steps, more steps to take that. Is it safe for you to drive? Really, Margaret? Is it actually safe for you to drive? But anyway, male white van drivers. White male, it's a whole other conversation. But male white van drivers, that's it. Sorry, got it. There needs to be an extra step. I just can't. They're rude. They're ridiculous. So I was coming down the road, and there was a car that wanted to come off from like a corner road. And I've been on that corner road so many times. And I know how hard it is for people to let you go. They never do. That corner is so hard. It's such a tricky corner to come out of that I changed my route entirely, because I said I can't keep chilling in the corner of a road like a fox, begging and hoping someone would just let me cross over. So anyway, on my way to the gym at 5:45 in the morning, I thought, I would do a good deed. Let me just let the guy go, because it's not that deep. There's no traffic at this time in the morning anyway. This guy behind me in the white van just started beeping. And one thing about me, it's the human nature. It's the human nature that the Spirit of God is still trying to quench. If you tell me not to do something, now I want to do it. If you tell me I should do something, now I don't want to do it. So now that you've beeped like a maniac, I'm not going to move. And actually, I might even give way to every single person that I meet all the way to where we're going. So this is what I did anyway. And this guy behind me was literally on my bumper, lips in my bumper. That's exactly what he was doing. And I really was just over it. And I just thought, you know what? We don't have enough conversation in society. We don't shame them enough. We don't shame male white van drivers enough. The aggressive ones on the roads. We don't shame them enough. There needs to be extra steps before they're allowed to get on the roads and stay on the roads. Because getting on is one thing. Being allowed to stay on, I think maybe they should get like every 3 months, we should have citizens who volunteer. I'm happy to take the first shift, who volunteer to just follow them around. We just follow them around and see what their behaviors are like. Also, is it illegal? So I've got this idea, and I've had it for a few years. I haven't done anything about it. I have this idea to name and shame drivers online. So if you do something crazy, if you're driving crazy, if you're aggressive, you're doing all these nonsense on the roads, I have this idea where we just take a picture, or where we have a platform where we get to post people's registration numbers. The only reason why I haven't done it is because I'm not sure if it's illegal, and I wouldn't do well in jail. I'm not a jail girl. I don't date people in jail, and I definitely don't want to be the one hoping to be dated in jail. Can't do it. But yeah, I always think about that. I'm actually going to Google it, because I really would love to start a platform that names and shames drivers. If you watch Modern Family, if you've never watched it, great show, you should. Great show. But there was an episode where there was basically a neighbor that moved into, they had a new neighbor basically, and she used to speed like a maniac in a residential area. And so one of the main characters, Claire, she put the woman's registration out. She basically blew up into a big poster sign. And it said, slow down, then her registration, your neighbours. Obviously, the whole storyline with the episode was that it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. Her mindset was, it said slow down. Who should slow down? The registration number owner. And who's saying you should slow down? Your neighbours. That's what she was saying, but it didn't make sense. But anyway, I think we should do that. I think that's something to implement in society and just start naming and shaming bad drivers in society because it's just too much. But yeah, I thought I was going to get punched in the face. Thankfully, I didn't. As you can see, my face is nice and fresh to the glory of God. I really did think he was following me to the gym, and I just thought, all of this just went back to, will I come and record the episode? And I said, yes, I would. And I thought, would I use sunglasses? And I thought, probably not. I would really just come here and record. So that's that on that. That is that on that. But anyway, today on Rewriting Life's Canvas, one of the things I was thinking about, so I recently did, what's it called? Let me get the name. Oh no, I think it's called Vinyasa Yoga. Sorry guys, let me just double check very quickly. What day of the week did I do this thing? I think it was like a Wednesday or something. I think it's called Vinyasa Yoga. So there's different types of yoga. Yeah, it is Vinyasa Yoga. Different types of yoga and whatever else. And I really like yoga. Really, really test your strength. Pilates, I'm a Pilates girly, yoga girl. Love it. Love. Cool work. Let's get it. However, so I tried Vinyasa Yoga. And it was very interesting. I would say it was different to the types of yoga I've done. The type of yoga I've done in the past, I've done hot yoga as well, which is, gosh, that's something. We're doing yoga, going into a downward dog in heat, in a steamed room. It's crazy. And every time you drink your water's hot. Because like, yes, you're in steam. Anyway, so I tried Vinyasa Yoga, right? And I thought, and it just made me reflect on how sometimes we do things that can feel a bit embarrassing to us, but not just embarrassing. It's like, embarrassing is one of the things, but also you can feel shame because it's quite foreign to where you are. So with Vinyasa Yoga, it's not hard-working yoga where you're sweating. It's yogas I do, I'm sweating like a donkey. I am sweating like a donkey. But this yoga is more, I would say it's more a resting yoga. Like you get to rest and really be zen. Funny enough, this yoga is what I thought yoga was before I started doing yoga. I thought yoga was a very relaxing, calm vibe, so let me put my phone on do not disturb. Yeah, I thought it was a very calm, zen, chilled vibe. And then I met the most amazing yoga instructor, Dominic. And gosh, it's hard work. Had me practicing moves outside of yoga classes. But anyways, this yoga is very, very relaxing. And the instructor, she has like these sound bowls, which I think I've seen it on, I've seen it in movies and like TV shows where people go on like couple retreats and stuff like those kind of retreats. And they ding, and it's just very calming. So anyway, that's what was in the class. And so I remember at first, I thought she was playing music. I thought it was the soundtrack. But when I looked up, I just saw this lady dressed in a nice flowy dress, like dressed how you would imagine someone who is banging bowls is dressed. And I'm not obviously making fun of her, but I know you know what I mean. I know you see. I know you know what I mean. She seems very happy, like she's always going to be happy all the time and soaks up good energy and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, and it wasn't her playing music. It was her actually just ding, 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 all over like just in the same spot while we were doing all the moves and relaxing and counting and doing all the things we were doing. And I really liked it. Like I left it, thankfully I came from work. So I left it feeling so relaxed, but it was weird because that day was just about me getting my steps in and then doing yoga. But to be fair, I thought I was going to do yoga because that would be a workout. But all it was I just relaxed. And I had this sense of shaming myself and feeling embarrassed because it wasn't something that I've done before. But also, it's that feeling, when you're embarrassed to do something, you're embarrassed about how you might look doing something. Is that kind of embarrassment. So not like I'm shy for myself, but that kind of embarrassment. And I remember leaving thinking, first of all, that was a nice experience, but also, why do I feel this way? And I just went down train of thought. And I realized it's because a lot of us don't prioritize rest and stillness. That's something that I've grown to really, really, really appreciate the past few years of my life. So I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I burnt out. I've always been, first of all, I'm Nigerian, right? And I think that the average Nigerian has this mindset of work hard. I also think it's in the Nigerian genes. I don't know if genes are passed down to people. It must be, actually, because people have a look. You know, you can tell like a Yoruba person sometimes. You can tell an Igbo person. You can tell a Hausa person. You can sometimes, I think, yeah. So scrap that. Genes for people and ethnics exist. So anyway, I would say that I'm naturally someone who likes to work hard. I'm naturally someone who believes in just going. However, in the past year, so 2 years ago, I burnt out. When I tell you that I actually when they say you're going to hit a wall, I hit a wall. And it was just, I feel like my brain has blocked out what that experience was like. But when I tell you, I've never felt so low in my life. I've never felt so low, so drained, so tired. I didn't even have the mind to think about, what underwear I wanted to wear. I just didn't have it. And I had to literally pause and take time out from everything. And for me as well, I find that with my life, everything has to work together. My spiritual life has to be on form. When I say my spiritual life, I'm praying to God. I'm in regular and constant communion with God. So my spiritual life has to be on form. My workout, my physical life, I'm active, I'm moving my body, has to make sense. My emotional life, there has to be a balance across the board. If one of them is off, it affects everything else. So with that, because I was so drained and everything, I wasn't paying attention to my spiritual life as I should have been. And it was just horrible. It was honestly so horrible. I had to take time away from work, take time away from everything that I was doing, and just experience stillness. And I think that in society, that's not something that we're pushed to enjoy. Rest is not something that is talked about as much as it should be. And when you experience something like that, when you experience a burnout in that kind of way, it really just makes you question everything that you know about the way the world works. Because I think there's so much focus on who it is that you're going to be in terms of your, the legacy you leave. And that's to do with work. And even with family, people, there are families that are broken, relationships that are broken because this person's a workaholic. They just can't stop. And it's so unhealthy. Working hard is something that's really pushed from when you were a child, that rest isn't pushed with the same vim. And it needs to be. Because I am seeing more and more young people just having heart attacks. I'm seeing more and more young people having strokes. I'm seeing more and more young people having high blood pressure. What on earth? It's scary. It's so scary. So doing that yoga, I really enjoyed it because it allowed me to rest and really just be calm and in the stillness, which I appreciated. And it's so interesting because after going through the burnout, I, of course, started to appreciate rest. I started to prioritize rest. I mean, to be fair, I've always been a napper, but I realized I was napping because I was always kind of tired and exhausted. And my iron levels, oh gosh, I went through it. My iron levels were dangerously low. My iron levels have been dangerously low for years. It's the grace of God that I've been okay. I remember recently, what's this year? Maybe it was towards the end of last year. It was a year ago anyway. I had to be on 50,000. What is it IUD units for vitamin D? So, I think they recommend you take, when you buy them, it's it comes in the 1,000 milli, that very tiny, what's it called? Unit. Each tablet is 1,000 units, I believe. I was on 50,000 a week. 50,000. My GP was like, your iron levels is dangerously low. So anyway, really enjoyed it. And it just made me realize how much we don't prioritize rest. And then it made me think about what is the shame in feeling as if you haven't worked hard at something. So that day, I'd done my 10,000 steps, did my yoga, but I felt like, but I didn't do something that was rigorous. I didn't do something that was like a lot of effort. I said, yeah, but why does that have to be the case? Why do I have to sweat like a donkey? I was gonna say donkey's bum. Why must I sweat like a donkey for me to feel like I've worked out? Like, because again, when it comes to fitness, I'm definitely gonna have an episode with fitness, and hopefully I can have the queen of fitness with me here when I do that. But because I have a very interesting view on fitness, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But when it comes to that, why do I feel that if I'm not feeling pain, then I'm not taking care of it? Part of fitness is your well-being, and your well-being is also your mental health. Your well-being is also your emotional health. It's also your spiritual health, and of course your physical health. So anyway, I just went down a rabbit hole of thinking, where does this come from? And obviously, being Nigerian, I can speak on being Nigerian. I can speak on Africans generally. To an extent, I can speak on being black, because I think that there's a thing with struggle being so praised and so, so celebrated within the black culture, within Nigerian culture, within African culture. Like, you have to hustle for things. If you don't hustle, if you don't get something after fighting so hard to get it, did you really get it? And I get it, because I think with black people are always fighting for something. Gosh, it gets tiring. It gets really, really tiring sometimes. It's mentally exhausting sometimes, because slavery, fight for your freedom. Then you got bad governments, fight for that as well. Then you've got, your rights as civil rights, fight for that as well. And then you start working, fight for a good job, fight for this, fight. It's too much. It's so strenuous. So it really just had me thinking about how it is that we're raised. Like, you're raised, if you're an African child as well, you will know that the average African parent, it's like their body itches when they see you doing nothing. I grew up like that, where it's like, why are you doing nothing? There should always be something to do, that you can always find something to do, but it's not healthy. Sometimes you just have to really sit down and do nothing. So I'm really just in an era of stillness and calmness. I mean, that being said, obviously I have moments where I'm not keeping on top of that as I should be. But I'm so glad that I do as much as I can. Because when I think about it, as a Christian, I'm sorry, sovereign God Almighty, creator of the heaven and earth, created earth and all the things in it, and on the seventh day rested. One of the things I'm learning from the Bible as I mature as a Christian, is how the Bible, the things that we read in the Bible are not just stories. They're not pointless stories. They're not folk tales. They're not. You know how people wish for a manual in life. I believe the Bible is that. The Bible is a manual for life. So a lot of the things that we read in there, it's teaching us about life. It's teaching us values. It's teaching us morals. It's giving us the blueprint of how this life works and what goes on, like how this life works. And when I think about God resting, God didn't rest because he's tired. He didn't rest because he needed a nap. He didn't rest for any reason why it is that human beings need rest. Because again, he's sovereign God. He's Almighty God. However, he rested. That day of rest is placed there for our benefit. Because from beginning of time, God always intended for us to work. I don't believe God intended for us to work in the manners in which we're working. Because I'm sorry, when I read the Old Testament and I read all these kings, there's nothing new about society today that is not in the Bible. All these governments that we're fighting, in the Bible. All these selfish leaders that we vote in or we don't vote in the Bible. I read the Bible and I see Tinubu in there. I tell you for a fact, I see Tinubu in there 10 times over. I see all these prime ministers and all these corrupt politicians and selfish and all these capitalists, they're all in there. It's all in the Bible. So God didn't rest because he needed a nap. But we're going to need a nap. we're going to need days of stillness. We're going to need days of doing nothing, because that's how your body regenerates. When I see TikToks, random TikToks of scientists and doctors, and when they say the things that happen when you're resting, blows my mind. So prioritize rest. We absolutely need to be prioritizing rest. We need to take care of ourselves, take care of our bodies. I watch a lot of these videos where that they stop someone on the road and they ask them a question, like a live question. I love those videos so much. That's kind of content I love. I love content like that. I would love to do something like that, but it's so great. One of the guys I watch so much and absolutely love and adore his page. I've seen so, like, it's just so great what he's built. His name is Hunter Prosper. I think so. Or Prosper Hunter. No, I think it's Hunter Prosper. And because he always introduces himself as Hunter. And I've watched countless of those videos. I've watched other creators that I can't name their names, but and whenever they ask people, what's one thing you wish other people knew? What's one thing you didn't neglect in life that you wish you took better care of or better care about? If you could go back, what's one thing you would change? People always, I've never seen anyone say, I wish I worked harder. I wish I made more money. I wish I wish I worked harder. The things people come back to say, it always revolves around like relationships and building and like forming beautiful memories and just also resting. There's been people that say, oh, like you don't have to use all 24 hours of a day, because we weren't created to use all 24 hours of the day. The people that say they wish they had spent more time with family, they wish they had valued time with family, they wish they had not let go of a relationship just because they were chasing their career. It's all these things, like, and I really believe that's what the purpose of life is. That's what it's meant to be. We're meant to be in a state where we're not so stressed all the time, because that's the thing. Lack of rest is such a silent killer. It's such a silent killer. Like, you don't realize. I always know when it is that I need to rest. I need to calm down and to dial it back. I get very irritable. Everything just annoys me and I just feel so frustrated. I can't think clearly. I get brain fog. Like, if I pick up my phone to do something, I'm going to forget straight away what I wanted to do. If I go upstairs to get something or anything, I could forget the easiest thing. I could warm food up and forget to eat it. I could make tea. I could boil the kettle for tea and forget to make the tea. It's so crazy. But I've never seen anyone in any of these videos say, oh, I wish I worked harder, or I wish I did this more. And it's always things that are more wholesome, that really, really add value to your spiritual life, to your emotional life, that really make you a well-rounded person. And so when I did this yoga, I just thought about how it's so interesting, the things that we can feel shame about, like sitting down and doing nothing, just sitting down and reading a book and absolutely doing nothing. So many people feel embarrassed to do that. They feel shame to do that. They feel that they're not doing enough. They're not being productive. They feel like they're wasting time by doing nothing. And it's not a healthy way to live. It's not a healthy way to live. It's not a healthy mindset to have. And you know what? One of the scariest people in this world, a lot of scary people in this world, a lot. But I think one of the scariest people in this world are people that say they will rest when they're dead. Excuse me? Excuse me? What the hell do you mean? I find that so scary. I think if someone says that, I find that so scary. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I think it's so crazy. But anyway, that's really what it just made me think about. And it just made me think about how, again, always going to come back to the concept of what this podcast is about, because there's so much to really, really peel back on and reflect on, and so many mindsets that we have that we don't realize is unhealthy. And the world around us doesn't highlight how unhealthy it is to not rest. It doesn't highlight how unhealthy it is that your entire life revolves around work. I always say that's the British. That's one of the reasons why I love going to Lagos as much as I do, because Nigerians work hard. I don't know if there's another people that work hard as Nigerians, because you see, in this world, you will find Nigerians everywhere. Go to Japan, you find Nigerian there. Go to Albania, you find a Nigerian there. Wherever country you think, maybe just countries where they've made it clear they don't like us. But I'm sure if we dig underground, there'll be like a low-key underground community of Nigerians somehow, some way. But so yeah, and one of the reasons, back to that, one reason why I love going to Nigeria is because Nigerians work hard. But what I've found is that in Nigeria, there's more to life than just working all the time. Like Nigerians love to work hard here, but Nigerians will also have a random party on a Tuesday. Like, what do you mean someone's getting married on Wednesday, and so now we're at a party on Wednesday? It's Tuesday. It's a working day. And it's not just in Dirty December that the clubs are full. The club is full if you go on a Tuesday. It's packed on a Tuesday. And I think that's one of the things why I love being there, because I think it's a Western thing where Western countries really make you, the way it's set up for you to work tirelessly and try to find little joys in like the tiniest things that don't actually really bring that won't really bring you joy like that. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is when young people are talking about how expensive it is and how they can't afford to buy houses and whatever else and settle down and start a family if you're someone that's very intentional about starting a family. And they say, oh, stop buying the matcha. If you stop buying matcha, maybe you're able to afford a house. Do you know how crazy it is that people work all month? People work really hard and they can't, and before they can afford a treat or before they can get a treat, they have to think about, can I afford this? I'm carry the one, take away the two, do all of that. And then there's a guilt for doing that. I think it's so crazy. It's not healthy. I don't believe this is what God intended. It can't be. Life cannot be just about working endlessly and working tirelessly and resting when you're dead. It can't be. It makes no sense. I always say that as Brits, the one thing that when the British people are the happiest, let's say Britons. Yeah, Britons, actually, yeah. When Britons are the happiest is when, first of all, when the sun is out. But more importantly, because we hardly get one sun, is more importantly is when we have a holiday booked. And I know it sounds like, yeah, but it's because you're taking a break. But is it, when you think of how much you work? I mean, if you think about the fact that there's 365 days in a year, and the average person has maybe let's just say 30 annual leave days. That's a month out of 12. And we can't count weekends because weekend is life admin. Weekend is you preparing to start a new week. We've got to prioritize rest. Whatever shame that there is that you might feel around rest, whether it's how you grew up and not being allowed to just have a lion. Some people can't even have a lion because they weren't allowed having lions growing up. What the hell? Like this thing of where you feel like I say all of this though, I am like this as well because my boyfriend's had to tell me off where I've taken time off work and I have nothing and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to do this. And he's just like, just sit down. Like, just do nothing. Wake up at the time you want to wake up, go to the gym, have a great time at the gym, come back, shower, have a meal, read that book you bought, watch a show and sleep. Just do nothing. It is hard, but it is so necessary. Because imagine me doing a yoga class I've never done before, but then here I am shy for myself because I've just spent an hour laying about on a mat. I just spent an hour just laying on the floor doing nothing. My ancestors would be shaking in the grave. They would be shaking in their graves. But you got to rewrite your life's canvas, man. You have to, because it's not sustainable. It's not feasible. It's not sustainable. I would say if I have kids, one of the things I can't wait to teach my kids is how to nap. Lights out. It's a fiesta. Everybody go to bed. Go to bed. It's too much. It's actually too much. I mean, it's the same way people feel about doing things that are just for fun. Like, why must there be a deep reason behind something for you to be able to do it? That doesn't have to be. That doesn't have to be. You can just dilly-dally. Do you know I miss dilly-dallying? As an adult, I really miss dilly-dallying. I felt like my last dilly-dallying was the summer I graduated, because I knew I was going into the workforce, and I couldn't for the life of me believe that adults in the workforce, you don't just have days off. Like, you don't have the summer off. You got to just work and take annual leave days off. And I'm sorry, if you're booking annual leave, right? If you anything shorter than 3 days, it's not annual leave. That's life admin days. Because you spend that day, God forbid you take one day off. Like, you just take a random day off, not because you're going anywhere. Unless you actually make an effort, you make your intention about doing nothing, you're going to end up doing more than you would have if you just worked. I have days like that. And it's ridiculous. I miss dilly-dallying. That's one thing that I miss about being a child, being younger, just dilly-dallying. Let's bring back dilly-dallying for adults. Bring back dilly-dallying. I love that word, dilly-dallying. But anyway, yeah, people feel the same kind of guilt and shame around doing, like, just doing stuff for fun. There's not an outcome in that. I'm sorry, this is why we're in a pandemic of people having hobbies and feeling like they have to monetize their hobbies. Yes, because there's socioeconomic factors to that, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But sometimes just do things for fun. Just do things without wanting to earn from it. Just do things because it's fun to do. If you end up earning from it, then that's fun, that's great, cool. But everything doesn't have to be a business. And it's just that same mindset of not feeling that you should, or you're entitled to having something for yourself that doesn't add to the quality of your life monetarily. We need to start adding to our life qualitatively. Like that. We need to start adding to our lives adding more to our lives, adding more purpose and joy and wholesomeness in ways that don't bring about money. It's okay. It's okay to just have something that you like to do for fun, and that's just it. That's why I love golf players. Not many of them are trying to be Tiger Woods, but they're having a good time. They're just, because it's very relaxed. Actually, I would love to play golf. I've never played golf. I've done mini golf, but don't really count. But I really, really am, like, I mean, I am personally in search of a hobby that I can just do. Like, it's just something that I enjoy and like doing. And it's low effort and it's just relaxing and it's just chilled and it's just calm. Like, the things that I enjoy doing, but I would really just love to find a hobby that isn't anything. I'm not trying to make money out of it. I'm not, nothing. I wish I could paint. I'd probably paint just to, actually, I might get a colouring book. But I want a hobby. I want a hobby that I can go out and touch grass, be away from where I do everything else. It's okay just to have fun. It's okay to want to do something. And all that there is to it is that you've left this thing and you feel relaxed. That's it. That's the only goal of this thing. That's the only purpose of this thing, is to help you feel relaxed. It's to help you feel calm. It's to regulate your nervous system. That's all that matters. That's okay. Like, it's okay to want that. But anyway, that's the canvas to rewrite, child. The canvas of having to always to feel like you must work, you must suffer to achieve this. And if you like, things can't be easy. I'm sorry, I want an easy life like mad. You kidding me? You know, people ask people like, oh, if you could earn this amount of money and it was just free, or you could work hard for it and build a great brand and da-da-da-da. People are like, oh, I would love to because I just love the idea of building something. Give it to me for free. Don't be silly. Give it to me for free right now. I would take it for free any day, anytime, right now. Thank you very much. Yeah, man, let's prioritize rest. Let's prioritize rest. Let's prioritize calmness, prioritize stillness. Because even like when you think about, and it's so interesting because even it's reinforced in the littlest things of our daily routines. You like your alarm goes off, you've hopped out of bed, turn your swag on, and now off you go. I'm sorry. No. I love nothing more than a slow morning. Like, I had yesterday off because I went to a funeral, and which I'll talk about actually very briefly. But went to a funeral, but because I was off work and the funeral was in the afternoon, and my gym class I was going to go to was at 9:30. Do you know, I woke up early anyway. But there's something about not having to just wake up and rush out of bed and rush and do something. Which is why, to be fair, I set my alarm. I can't wake up at a time that I need to be right out of my bed. I can't do it. I have, and I don't recommend it for the heart. I don't recommend it for your blood pressure. I can't do it. So I turn for example, my alarm goes off during the week. If I'm going to the gym for 6, my alarm goes off at 5. I wake up, I pray. If I read a Bible verse, and then go on my day. When I'm not going to the gym that early in the morning, my alarm goes off. I wake up, I pray. I take a moment when I wake up. I'm just like, oh, okay. Calmness. Because really and truly, actually, I've heard doctors say you shouldn't just jump out of bed. Imagine giving yourself such a hard start today. That's so rude. Imagine someone just waking you up and just throwing water on you. How rude is that? You're basically doing the same thing to your body where you just jump out of bed. But anyway, I wake up in the morning, pray, read my Bible. And again, that's something that brings stillness to me. That's something that brings calmness to me. Like, one of the things I've stopped doing, I forget sometimes that I've stopped doing it, but because I did it today. But I try not to rush. Because sometimes you feel like time has gone faster. It hasn't. It's just you have somewhere to be. And when you feel like time is going slow, it's because you're bored or for whatever, many reasons, right? But I really try to have very still mornings, and very quiet mornings, and very calm mornings. And I just love it. Sometimes I just sit in silence. Nothing going on, nothing wrong. I'm just sitting in silence. Because it's very needed. We need to regulate our minds. We need to regulate your nervous system. You need to regulate your body. You need to just be still. That was a nice still moment, wasn't it? I bet it was. As you're listening to this or watching it, I bet that was a nice moment. Do yoga. Yoga is very good for that. What do I call it? Vinyasa? Did I call it vinyasa? I think it's vinyasa yoga. Or vinyasa. No, vinyasa. Vinyasa yoga. Also very good for that. But it's just needed, man. It's really, really needed. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I went to a funeral yesterday. And again, when is people's end of lives? Like, the things that are highlighted the most is about who you are as a person. It's about who you are. I really want to have an episode on grief. And hopefully I can have someone who has gone through it. And I don't want to say on the other side of it, because I think it's very hard to be on the other side of it. But I don't think that you ever stop grieving people that you lose. I think that you just learn. I think your mindset changes around the loss. Is it 5 or 7 stages of grief? Or is it 3? Things are always 3, 4, 3, 5 or 7. But you go through the stages of grief, but then you get to a point where you kind of get to the point where you're celebrating person's life, and you're able to talk about it without crying, and able to talk about it without a broken heart. And like, yeah, you can acknowledge you missed them, but it's a healthy form of grieving. So I would love to speak to someone who is at that stage of healthy grieving. If that's you, please reach out. That'd be really great and insightful episode. I've been through grief myself, and I think there's different types of griefs actually, but we'll talk about that on that episode. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so at the funeral, and honestly, right, it's just so, again, what people are going to focus on when you're no longer here is who you were. Like, no one ever says, oh, they clocked this many hours at work, and gosh, they were the best employee. Your employers might not even be there unless you started a business with your friends, or you're the business owner and your employees come. No one really, the eulogy is not going to focus so much on how hard you worked and like, yes, but like, she worked hard or he worked hard and did this and did that, blah, blah, blah. But it's just not the focus. It's not the focus. If you're someone who has that mindset of you rest when you're dead, please change that, amend that, fix that. That is not a healthy way to live. It just isn't. But it was a lovely funeral, which is interesting when people say it's a lovely funeral, but you can have funerals that are lovely. It was a celebration of life. It's a Christian brother in my church, elderly man. And the things that were said about him, I'm sorry, I've got to share this, right? Because I just thought it was the coolest thing. It's amazing how you see people I've been going to my church, I think, maybe coming up to 10. How old am I now? 31. I think I've been going to my church for 10, coming up to 10 years now, actually, a decade. But And you see people every single Sunday. Every single Sunday you see them, and sometimes you just don't know some stuff about people. Like I learned so much about him at the funeral yesterday. I was mind blown. Did you guys know? Okay, oh, you wouldn't know. I didn't know until yesterday. But the first ever time there was text on British television on the BBC was my Christian brother. Blew my mind. I said, I didn't have a clue. And he was so humble, so loving, so kind, so sweet and so humble. I didn't know he did all these cool things that was listed yesterday. He had invented so many cool, I didn't have a clue. But again, I just think that there's certain things that are more important that people are going to talk about when it is that we all pass away, and how hard it is that you struggled and hustled and I don't think it's always going to be the top of the list. Do you know what I mean? People won't miss you for your hard work. They miss your presence. They miss time with you. And that's why it's so sad when families break apart and relationships break down and all these friendships break up, because people just can't stop for a second to make time. And you have to, and the older we get as well, we have to be very intentional about it. Especially when people are having kids and, moving to different parts of the world and all that kind of stuff. You have to be intentional about pouring into your life relationships with people. And a lot of that comes once you start resting, you realize that you actually have to make time for all these things that matter. Because really and truly, I'm not trying to work to my grave. I'm not trying to at all. But anyway, that'll do it. That'll do it for this episode. So this week, challenge yourself to rest. Take some time and rest. Let me know how it is that you've rested, or what you do for rest. If you currently rest, let me know what you do for rest, or to chill or to relax, that kind of stuff. If you don't, challenge yourself this week to just have moments of stillness, moments of calmness. Meditate. Just sit down and just think through things. And it's so interesting, like the way the world works. I mean, first of all, I can't believe we're in June. But of course I can't believe we're in June, because every day is just, it sounds silly, but every day is every day. And we just keep going. And before you know it, you look back and you think, wow, that was so long ago. You look back and you think, oh my gosh, I haven't spoken to that person in a year. I haven't seen them in 2 years. Oh, it's not healthy. We can't live like this, man. We can't let capitalism win. We can't let capitalism win. And I guess, to be fair, when the Bible does say contentment is great gain, it is, It is, because it really just changes the mindset of what the kind of things that you want to work towards. And things will always work out. Things will always fall into place. So it really does change that. On today's episode of Unpopular Should Be Popular Opinions, today I have a bone to pick. So one of the things, I picked a bone earlier. Picked a bone to start the episode. Wow. Very intense. So one of the things that I love about society today, I always say that I'm so glad I'm born in this era. These are the kind of things I think about. Like the way I think here, as this podcast continues to grow, you guys will really, really get an insight into how my mind works. It's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. People around me think it's fascinating, because sometimes I say things and they can't believe I've just said what I've said. But anyway, right, I am very grateful to be born in the time in which I have been born in. Sometimes I think about something like, actually no, it's something like one of the biggest things, right? I'm so glad I grew up in an age of toilets. I can't imagine having to go in the bushes. I can't. First of all, I'm allergic to nature. If I go on grass, my ankles swell, hay fever gets me. I did a green pill, what was it, 2 years ago, nearly killed me. Like, I'm not even joking, actually nearly killed me. My head swelled up, my tongue was expanding in my mouth. It was. My throat was closing up. It was the whole thing. And that pill is made of plants and herbs. So I'm allergic to nature. I have really bad hay fever. I have asthma, which is, I guess, bad air, but air when it comes down to it. I'm allergic to nature, so I can't imagine if I was born in a time where I had to go in the bushes. Also, when I read the Bible, sometimes I just thank God for Jesus. I have to. I'm scared of pigeons. And they would have to sacrifice birds to cleanse their sins. And of course, they were all sinners. We're all sinners. Or I would have been done. At the first instruction of you got to sacrifice 2 pigeons. Oh, I'm done. take me. Back then, God used to open the ground up and people would just, whoop, they're gone. Here, 1 second, gone the next. Anyway, all of that being said, I love the age that we live in, and I love that we have so much more information available to us. However, though, I think that we need to, just like the white van drivers, we need to come back to the drawing board about sanctions, about people who use this newfound knowledge for evil. Maybe not necessarily evil. Evil, for the example I'm going to give, evil might sound a bit dramatic, but yeah, for just unproductive behavior. Where I'm going with this is that I love when we learn like new diagnoses for things. I love it. I'm here for it because I think that I think about so many people that have passed across time, especially medicine-wise, right? I'm talking about medically, and they didn't have a name for what was wrong with them. They didn't have a solution, or at that time in society, they didn't have the knowledge that would have helped those people, that would have relieved them of pain, would have relieved them of their difficulties, of their issues. Like I think about mental health issues, for example, as the biggest example actually, and how people back then were just labelled as mad, or they labelled as witches and labelled as all sorts. But really, some people just were having breakdowns. Some people were just going through terrible things. So I love that medically we're so advanced in society. I think it's absolutely great. The issue is that some of you learn words and all of a sudden now you apply to everything. That's the issue. That there is the issue. That's what I personally have an issue with. And I think, and we've gone through this. You guys will, if you're a social media user, you will know the whole narcissism wave. There's a wave of narcissism, where everyone was narcissist. Every man was narcissist. And when the women became narcissists too. Just someone treats you bad. No, they're just a horrible person. They're not a narcissist. They're just a horrible person. They're just a very unkind person. So there's just this love of using words in the ways they shouldn't be used. And I think, and the latest thing for me, and again, this annoys me because I think it takes away from people who actually need help about this, who need a better understanding to cope through life with these conditions. And what I'm talking about today on this episode is ADHD. I think that this idea that every single thing that we do is because we've got ADHD or something, not just ADHD to be fair, on the spectrum somehow, something has got to stop. Some things are just normal. Some things are just things that you do, that there's no deeper meaning behind the things that you do. I saw someone talk about the other day about, normal people, like they linked it to like how you wake up in the morning, your alarm going off, and people that snooze. That's not an ADHD trait. It could be, but I'm sure there's other things that will let that, if someone does have ADHD, I'm sure there's other things that lets them know that, yeah, this is what it looks like I might be dealing with. But if you're someone who, you're not a morning person, you don't like waking up in the morning, that doesn't mean you have ADHD. It doesn't mean that. So that's my unpopular should be popular opinion this week. Is that there needs to be sanction. We need to come up with something. Time out on social media, something. Remember people used to go in Twitter jail? Something. If you use a word wrong, you use a diagnosis wrong for the sake of attention and engagement farming, because we need to talk about that. I might even just lump that into one actually. That whole blue tick thing, take it away. Especially, I'm sorry, I don't know if other countries' Twitters are doing this, but you see Nigerian Twitter and the blue tick, then they should have never given you all the access to it. They should have never ever. I am always seeing one story or the other on this forsaken platform. Platform is exactly what bring Jack back. That's the hashtag we need to get going. Bring Jack back. Because it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. People are making all sorts of nonsense, all sorts of stories and threads to earn money. But also they're asking most stupid, annoying questions. I wake up this morning, I really want to slap my mum. What do you guys think about that? I'm sick of it. But anyway, yeah, stop diagnosing yourself all over the place, all over the shop. And not just yourself. If you want to do yourself, that's fair. But doing that to other people, like, oh my gosh, you stand that way, oh my gosh. You're eating that way, oh my gosh. You're doing this, oh, you have this. Please, because I know if we asked you what the acronym stands for, you couldn't tell us. Stop it. Anyway, hope you guys have had a lovely time. I have. I've had a great time. But please kindly follow the podcast at Rewriting Life's Canvas on Instagram and on TikTok. Leave comments on YouTube. I know I haven't replied to the YouTube comments at the time of recording this because I get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed with social media. I do. I really get overwhelmed with social media, but I really will. But I really, really appreciate all the love. Again, I have to say it because my heart was so warm. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I posted that the podcast was coming out the next day and I went to bed. I did. It wasn't my bedtime. It was not my bedtime, but I went to bed. So I really, really appreciate all the love and support that I've had so far. And yeah, let me know what you think about this episode. Let me know what you think about my unpopular opinion. Do you think it should be popular? Or am I just being a hater? I told you guys anyway that a lot of the things I'm going to come up with in this segment I'm going to sound like a hater. I am. But I'm happy to. You know when people say, oh, I'm taking one for the team, but there's no team? It's just a team of one. Yeah, that's me. I'm taking one for the team of one. But anyway, if you can, do some dilly-dallying this week. Rest this week. Prioritize rest. Prioritize stillness. Prioritize calmness. Try and figure out what it is that can get you in a healthy place outside of chasing money, chasing popularity, chasing there's a word I'm thinking about. I can't remember what the word is. Admiration, maybe. I think that's the word. Maybe it's not, but I'll go for that anyway because I got to leave. But yeah, anyway, I appreciate you guys all the time. Let me know what you think, and I will speak to you on the next episode. Episode is out every 2 weeks, so I will see you in 2 Wednesdays. Have a great week. Bye.